Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a great day so far. Thank you for your patience, members. Yeah, there seems to be some issue with YouTube servers. So I'm actually using a YouTube backup server right now to bring you this stream, which I've never done before. And I don't know if YouTube backup servers are Rashika, and I saw some other members in here as well. Abhishek, Nikhil, Beck, John, Victor, Janil, lots more people in here, so that's great. All right. So again, this class, of course, is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Definitely check us out there. For general IELTS, visit us at IELTShelp.com. We have lots and lots of materials to help you prepare for the IELTS exam there and get a nice high score. Welcome, Birendra. All right, students, because it took a couple minutes to troubleshoot the server issue, we'll get right into today's lesson. Of course, just if anybody needs to contact me, Adrian at aehelp.com. So task 1 right now, and then in about 90 minutes, we will finish that task 2 essay that we started yesterday with everyone. So make sure that if you started with that, then finish with that today as well. And of course, we'll have more lessons coming up tomorrow also. Okay, everyone, so just a nice, clear bar graph today. I'm going to hand over most of the writing for you today, okay? I'm just going to be guiding you. And of course, to get the whole essay done, we want to work through this nice and quickly. So the first step in task 1, academic, okay, make sure that you realize that general task 1 is different. If you want to study for general IELTS task 1, please visit our website, gieltshelp.com. We have lots of task 1 examples and strategies there for you. Okay. All right, Jenny, I'll keep that in mind for the map, okay, for the next time. All right, so here we go. First step, always just read the question really, really carefully. Here we go. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The following graph shows the overall and youth unemployment rates in some European countries for a given year. Report the lag that you experience is kind of the usual that YouTube servers have for these types of low latency streams, okay? I'm just curious. Like I say, I've never used a backup YouTube server before to host the class, so. All right, so let's take a look at the graph. So we looked at the question. It's fairly clear. Let's look at the graph. Here we go. Percentage of unemployed young people in 2005. So 15 years. Bars. What are those two colored bars? The unemployment for 15 to 24-year-olds, and the red bar is the overall unemployment. Okay. All right. So notice how the blue bars are higher than the red bars. Okay, what does that mean? So the blue bar says that it's the unemployment for 15 to 24-year-olds, and it's somewhere around 38% for Poland, and then the overall unemployment is 15%. Can you explain to me what that means? So does that mean there are more young people unemployed than overall people unemployed? What does that mean? So David says nope. Okay. So what does it mean, David? What does it mean? Yeah, Beckjohn says, so considering the other ages. Yeah, so you have to be careful. So this 38% in Poland means that if this is the total number of unemployed people, 15%, then this is, let's say, 100% of all unemployed people. So unemployment of 15 to 24-year-olds would be somewhere around just over a third. So this would be the proportion of young people from the total that are unemployed. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, if you're really rushing and you're nervous and you're tired, it would be easy to make a mistake here and write that in a very confusing way. All right, so careful about that. Okay, so you can't directly compare these two bars. You have to indirectly compare them. All right, it's important to keep in mind with this bar graph. And it looks like most of you have that. It's just an important point to keep in mind. Okay. All right. How's the video, members? Is it okay? Is it kind of like usual? Do let me know. So can some of you say, yeah, no, it's kind of like usual, or it's worse than usual? I'm just curious, just in case I have to switch servers in the future or in the next class, swap back to the primary YouTube servers if they're working. Okay. Okay, Victor says, yeah, it's good. All right, that means that the backup servers at YouTube work just the same. Yeah, I've never had, yeah, nobody's perfect. Even YouTube's not perfect. I've never had the YouTube primary servers go down, so something's not working as it should at YouTube, it seems like, from troubleshooting, but they're very smart to have backup servers. That's for sure. A plan B, as they say, a plan B. Okay, cool. I'm happy to hear that. So, okay, so we've looked at the graph. We recognize the year. We can see the countries, Poland, Italy, Hungary, Germany, Denmark. Go ahead and start writing the overview here, members. So write the overview. I'll give you a head start here. Remember, the overview is a paraphrase with details. So today's bar graph is not too complex. So let me just guide you and you write ahead of me. Okay? So again, think about numbers. Think about what quantitative information you can change for some of the qualitative information that's in the question. Okay. David says the given bar chart depicts the percentage of young individuals in overall population without a job in 2005 in 5 European countries, namely Poland, Italy, Hungary, Germany, and Denmark. Very nice, David. I like it. It's good. Maksud says the given bar chart depicts the average of average unemployment among adolescents. Adolescents, Maksud, are teenagers. You have young adults here as well, okay? So 15 to 24 includes young adults. So you should add that, Maksud. So the given bar chart depicts average unemployment among adolescents and young adults in 5 European countries, okay? Even if you don't do what David did, Maksud, you don't name the countries, you should still say 5 countries, okay? So be more specific, okay? It's really important, right? Victor says the given bar chart depicts the information about unemployment rates of young people in 5 European countries in 2005. Good. And Victor, you remembered to put in the year, which is nice. Okay. Beckjan says the column graph illustrates the percentage of unemployment for young people aged 19 to 24 years old and all individuals in 5 European countries, Poland, Italy, Hungary, Germany, and Denmark in 2015. Yeah, very good, Beckjan. It's clever how you stuck in the in 2015. Great. Okay, good job. So everybody's doing great so far. Abhishek, Nikhil, you're definitely on the right track also. Now, let's see that main feature. So here is the graph again. Identify the main feature. Okay. So what is the main feature? Okay. What do you see mostly? Okay. What is the most observable feature that kind of jumps out at you when you take a look at this bar chart? Think about that. Okay, you can think of most and least, but think beyond that as well. I'm always encouraging you to think beyond most and least. Okay, I'm going to grab David's overview. I really like that one, so I'm going to take that one. David says the given bar chart, don't forget your T, David, depicts the percentage of young individuals without, I like that nice paraphrase, and overall population, and overall population without a job in 2005 in 5 European countries, namely, and you don't really need a semicolon there, you can just keep it as a comma, Poland, Italy, Hungary, Germany, and Denmark. Okay, good. Yeah, that's great. Now let's see some main features. Again, I think there's a fairly obvious main feature here that you can all see by looking at this. I'm curious to see how you're going to word that, how you're going to express that. Okay. Bekjan says main feature, the unemployment for young is always higher than the average. Okay. I don't know where you can get that information from, Bekjan. I'm trying to see that. So if the total number of unemployed people are 15% in Poland, and 35% or 38% of those are young people, I'm not sure what the average is. I think you're doing a fair bit of math there to deduce that. Like you can see here that in Denmark, only 13% of people are unemployed from the 5% unemployment rate. So I think there would be other age groups that might have higher unemployment rates. I'm not sure if I get you exactly, Bekjan, what you mean by that. Okay. So the number, do you mean like the percent of unemployed people is always higher than the total? Percentage? Yeah, I mean, that's okay if you think about that, Bekjan, but that doesn't really have value. So this is what I said, don't compare these two directly. There's really no value in making this comparison directly. Okay? That doesn't mean much for the person looking at the graph, right? David says, immediately it is evident that young individuals make up a significant proportion of the overall population, having a higher percentage than the percentage that represents the overall. Yeah, so David, you're making the same comparison. This is the overall unemployment. This is the percentage of young people unemployed. Comparing between these two doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay? Comparing among these and among these, okay, and in between the countries, that makes maybe sense, but not comparing within a country in these two, in the general sense, so in the main feature. Kind of get what, all right? And that's all. Again, don't try to get too fancy for the IELTS exam, okay? Keep your thoughts simple, all right? So here, all I would write is what Janelle said. At first glance, it is evident that there is significant, or there was significant, because if we're referring to the time, 2005, then it's past tense, right? It is evident that there was significant. We don't know what it is now. It could have changed a lot in 15 years. So there was significant variance of unemployment rates. Okay, I don't need to say young and overall, just unemployment rates, because unemployment rates means young and old. I've already said young and old here, so I don't need to keep repeating that. Okay, so unemployment rates among these 5 countries. And you could say in 2005, but again, that's already clear from this sentence. Okay, and then what Victor wrote, whereby, remember that word, whereby? Here's a good use of it. Whereby Poland had the highest rates and Denmark the lowest percentages. Okay, so just putting it together, all right? You can see that in the graph. So this would be your overview, right? The given bar chart depicts the percentage of young individuals and overall population without a job in 2005 in 5 European countries, namely Poland, Italy, Hungary, Germany, and Denmark. At first glance, it is evident that there was significant variance of unemployment rates among these 5 countries, whereby Poland had the highest rates and Denmark had the lowest percentages. There you are. That's your Band 9 overview together with the introduction. You don't need a separate introduction. You don't need to separate these 2 sentences. It's kind of awkward to have one sentence as a paragraph. This goes for everyone because I still see a lot of students writing their essay like this, where they separate introduction, quote unquote, from the overview like that. That's kind of awkward writing. It's awkward essay writing. It's quite rare to see a single sentence make up an entire paragraph in essays. So, and this is a good example of where you don't need that. So it's better to just have it like that. Okay. Task 1 for the most part, for most questions, is just 3 paragraphs. All right. So let me just grab that overview. All right. Good job, students. Again, don't overthink it. Okay. When you're looking at a fairly simple graph like this one, keep it simple. Okay. You're lucky if you get a graph like this on the exam. Okay, this one should be fairly easy to write about. Okay, so here we're looking for lots of fluency, right? Okay, so what makes sense? So how should we write about this? What's number 1? What's number 2? What's number 3, 4, 5? So how should I structure this essay? How should I structure my analysis? Give me some information about that. Okay. So give me some information. So David says, why not go left to right? So we can go Poland most, Denmark least. Yeah, I could do that. Okay. Yeah, sure, I could do that. That might not make for the most interesting essay. Okay. Beckjan says start with Poland. Yeah, I would definitely start with Poland. So Poland has the highest rates of unemployment, which is unfortunate, and it's interesting, right? Instead of going 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Again, remember, you only have 20 minutes. And so the question always says, discuss the main features and make comparisons where relevant. I just saw that the camera took a snooze there, no worries. There's a cute little intermission. Okay, and I'll get you back on camera here in just a moment. So so you always want to include the best information in the 20 minutes possible. And here, writing about the center 3 is not as interesting because of the topic, right? So when we're talking about unemployment, so people without jobs, usually we're concerned about where there's the highest problem, and then we're also interested in where it's the lowest because that's a good example of what to do, right? So Denmark is a good example of what to do to keep unemployment rates low, right? So that's where Victor, I like it, Victor, you get my thumbs up here, okay? So Victor says, well, I would go Poland, then Denmark, right? Because there's definitely a good contrast there. So I would go Poland and then Denmark, Okay, and you can contrast these two. All right, and then after Denmark, I would go Italy third, and then Germany and Hungary I would do as 4 and do that comparison between Germany and Hungary, and these elements I would do as my 5th kind of comparison. Okay, does that make sense? So it just leads to a more interesting essay, and if you run out of time, if you run out of the 20 minutes, you're going to end up with a better essay if you don't necessarily get to these points. So if you get to 1, 2, 3, and then maybe 4, but you don't really get to 5 and you run out of time, you throw in a quick summary, you're still going to get a really good mark, okay? All right, so let's do that. Let's get into writing about Poland. Okay, so describe what's happening with Poland. Don't worry about comparing it to Denmark yet. Just write about this situation here with Poland and the unemployment rates of the total and the young. Okay, all right. So give me that sentence. And try not to use too many percentages. So whenever you can, try to interpret the graph. Okay? So yes, Victor, I agree. Poland, then Denmark. Okay? And Victor, remember capital letters for countries always for the first letter. Just make a habit of that. In English, it looks really awkward when you use a lowercase for names of countries or people. Okay, Beckjohn says, when looking at the bar graph in more detail, it is clear that Poland had the highest proportion of unemployment for both young and overall, which accounted for over 1/3 and 1/10, respectively. Beckjohn, not bad. I think you can say that in a clearer and more concise way. Think about how you can do that. Okay, so think about your audience. You want to sound as concise and as clear as possible, and I think you can do a better job. David says, looking at the data in more detail, Poland, which during the given year had about 37% of overall unemployment, had also a proportion of 15%. No. You got the numbers backward here. Unemployment of 15 to 24-year-olds, David, is the young. So this is the young people here. Okay. This is the overall. Okay. Red is overall. Blue is unemployed. David, be really careful. If you made that mistake in the real exam, it would hurt your score terribly. Like you would lose 2 of the people in the country are not working. That's usually a major depression, like back in the 1930s. Okay. Thankfully, we haven't had. Abhishek, looking at more details. Okay, into is awkward. Looking at more details, it is evident that Poland had around 37% jobless young people, whereas overall 15%. The two are connected when you're looking at within a country. Okay, Abhishek, so notice how I wrote it up here. Janiel says, after deeper inspection, good. The most unemployment rate, the highest unemployment rate of young individuals and overall population among these countries was Poland in 2005 at 43 and 20% respectively. So Janiel, not bad, but it's the same advice that I gave to Beckjohn. Don't overcomplicate it when it's not necessary. Look at how I did it. It's fairly simple. I use maybe 20 words clearly as possible and even get to the summary when possible. Okay. So in more detail, Poland had the highest rate of overall unemployment at 15%, of which young people made up over 1/3 of the total. Okay, remember I showed you that at the beginning. Is that sentence clear for everyone? So here, 15% of the population represents all of the unemployed people in Poland. From that 15%, roughly 38%, which is over 1/3, 1/3 would be 33%, over a third are young people. Okay, so that means that if this is the as possible. Okay, hopefully that's good. Okay, all right. So try to do the similar or the same with Denmark. Okay, so here's Denmark's numbers. Denmark total unemployment is at about 3%. Okay, so 3%, and the 15% overall. It's more concise, Beckjohn, but you haven't made the connection between the overall and the young, the proportion. Okay, so make that connection here, students. So don't just write 7%. Okay, so think about how you can. It's a thinking light bulb. Okay, so think about how you can express 7% in a better way, in a way that's more interpretive. Okay, so connect, explain the contrast, and then explain this connection here of the young people. Okay, that can all fit in within one clear sentence. All right, okay. And this is great practice for your university studies also, where you will be doing presentations on graphs and charts in your classes, okay? Most majors, whether it's engineering or psychology or biology, nursing, you have to do, and so that's why IELTS is testing you on this, because they know you will have to do this in university, okay? Abhishek says, however, Denmark had the lowest rate of total unemployment at around 2%, of which 15 to 20-year-olds are slightly more than 5%. Okay, Abhishek, really nice start, and I like the of which 15 to 24-year-olds. Replace the end of that. There's a better way that you can do that. Okay? Had the least. Lowest is okay. Percentage of jobless people at around 3%, okay, of which 15 to 24-year-olds let's see how somebody else finishes that. I don't want to give you that ending yet because some of you might come up with it. Don't use a percent, okay? Interpret the information. So interpret this 7%, okay? So Abhishek says, however, David says, conversely, Denmark, which had the lowest percentages, made up about 3% of the overall population, from which 6% was composed of youngsters. Youngsters. David, not youngers. Okay, youngsters. Yeah, again, you're using percentages. Okay, I would say it's more 7. Okay, because here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is closer to 7. There's a better way to word that. So, okay, so it's less than a tenth of young. It's the only one that's less than a tenth. All of the other ones are above 10% of the total. Okay, Denmark's the only one that's under 10%, and it's only one for the total that's under 5%. All right. However, Denmark had the least percentage of jobless people at around 3%, of which 15 to 24-year-olds were under a tenth of the total. Again, the lowest proportion of these given countries. Okay, so that's how I would put that together for a lot of clarity. Okay, it's here. All right, so here we go, the two most important parts put together. In more detail, Poland had the highest rate of overall unemployment at 15%, of which young people made up over a third of the total. However, Denmark had the least percentage of jobless people at around 3%, of which 15 to 24-year-olds were under a tenth of the total. Again, the lowest proportion of these given countries. Okay? All right. So let's do it for the next one here for Italy. Okay? So here you have Italy. Italy total unemployment. Okay. Joseph, welcome to our group of members. Send me an email later today and I will hook you up with your exclusive videos for your perks. Okay? Thanks for becoming a member. All right? So again, pay careful attention. You have to be careful with the information you give. In Task 1 Academic, if you give bad information, it counts against you. It's in the marking rubric. Even if you're using perfect English, if you're giving wrong information, you will lose marks. It's an academic IELTS exam, okay? So it matters. All right, put it together. So put this one together for Italy. Okay, I'm going to do the same. So we're going to get moving a little bit faster here. Okay, so that would be my next sentence there. Hopefully some of you are coming up with the same. Okay, keep writing here, remember, so keep comparing these. I'm going to do the same just so we can see the overall essay here. Okay. Okay, so that would finish my analysis, and then I would come to the summary, okay? And I'll read that in 1 second. Okay, so this is my overall analysis here of these bars in which young people made up over a third of the total. However, Denmark had the least percentage of jobless people at around 3%, of which 15 to 24-year-olds were under a tenth of the total. Again, the lowest proportion of these given. So that is the total description from most to we're using a backup server. Okay, only a little bit more to bear with me. I'll try to switch back, of course, for the next class to the primary servers, but ladies and gents, it's not on my end. I don't have the power to control YouTube's servers, unfortunately. But I guess that's why YouTube has the backup server. So, okay, so summary. What can we summarize about this? So we're almost there. Bear with me. 2 more minutes, okay? So what can we summarize about this? So what did we learn from analyzing this bar chart? Okay. What did we learn from analyzing this bar? So I would probably start my summary with this. After deep analyses of this data, it is clear that, what's clear? So what's clear after a deep analysis of the data? Abhishek, no, you can't, but you're starting to think in the right way. So Abhishek says, can we say that a major portion of unemployment is due to young people? No, you can't say that because it's not true, Abhishek. And so if you look at Denmark, it's only 7% of the total, so it's less than a tenth. So we can assume that there's far more older people making up this 3% than younger people. So it's not true. It's even for Poland, it's not true, because even in Poland, it's just 37%. The proportion of unemployed young people compared to the overall unemployment rate is different in different European countries, right? Does everybody see what I mean by that? So here we have low unemployment, few young people unemployed. Here we have fairly higher unemployment and low number of young people unemployed. Here we have a low number of unemployment, but a higher number of people unemployed. So there's variance. So there isn't a correlation between the unemployment rate and the rate of unemployed young people. Do you see what I mean? It's not correlated. Okay, so it's not dependent in Europe in these countries. And the proportion of jobless teens and young adults. Okay, so that's what I can conclude from that. Okay. Yeah, Janil, it looks simple, but there's a lot of information there. Remember, simple is elegant. So this is the full essay. Okay. Exactly, Joseph. So comparing between the, yeah, exactly. It's not intuitive. It's only interesting to the point of seeing whether or not it's correlated. So if we saw that any time that there's more unemployment, a bigger proportion of young are unemployed, then we would say that there's a relationship, and that's interesting. But that's not true, because we have, look at this line, right? You have this versus this. So here, statistically speaking, you would say that there is no correlation. Okay, this is fairly simple. Probably see that even clearer, that there's just no correlation between the young and the total. So this line represents the total, this line represents the youth, and there's no correlation. So if they were both moving down, or if there was a negative correlation, one was moving up, then you would see that. But we don't have this parallel line, or we don't have the juxtaposed increasing line. Does everybody get where I'm going with that? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay. All right. I'm going to post this essay on our YouTube community board as well, so you can review it. Thanks, students, for bearing with me. I know that was a little bit even more challenging than usual with the low latency backup server streams, but thanks to YouTube, that was still possible. So hopefully I will see you in the next class, and of course I'm going to test to make sure that we can go back to our primary YouTube servers. Hopefully YouTube's fixed whatever issue. They're usually pretty quick if there's anything on their end. And for everybody watching, to get lots more examples and to see HD videos